fine. We're good.
Okay. So I'll just introduce myself first. My name is Rachel. I am Marshallese. I grew up in a Marshallese household. I grew up in the Church of Assembly of God. I call myself a Micronesian, even though I was born and raised here in Seattle. I have a 7-year-old son. His name is Tama. I named him Tama because I wanted people to speak culture every time they say his name. And it also means various things in different languages. And he is my everything. Culture is everything. Without culture, we are nothing in our Pacific Island cultures. Yes?
Amen.
Yeah, okay, I see some nods, that's good. Okay, so I'm kind of nervous right now. I don't know how I feel about this whole Zoom meeting right now with everybody not showing themselves, but that's okay. All right, okay, here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and start a presentation. Let me see if I can share the screen. Okay. So, like I was saying, culture is our lifeline. It is who we are. It keeps us in check and it gives us a sense of duty, even when no one appoints it to us. And we have the capability to hold on to our culture and pass it down to our children. And that's something that I hold very close to me. And I know that's something that we as Pacific Islanders have in common. This presentation is not about culture. I should have made it about culture, but instead it is about the Micronesian people, which is just as important, and how we are doing in health and education in Washington State. And you'll see as we go deeper into this presentation that there's not a whole lot of data that I am able to offer, and that's not my fault. It is part of my problem though, and it is all of our problem as Micronesian people. It is our problem as Micronesian people. We have to step up and gather data as best as we can. But that is something that we'll talk more about later. Here are some talking points that we'll be hitting today. We'll be talking about where Micronesia is and who the Micronesians are. Chasmin will talk a little bit about colonization in Micronesia, which will lead us into the Compact of Free Association and who COFA citizens are and what that means. We'll also talk about COFA Health, which is one of the key movements that we've had recently. It's really put a stamp on who we are as Micronesians in Washington State, and we'll learn about some organizations that have made health accessible to Micronesian people within the past couple of years. And we'll also talk about nuclear testing. Malika is going to do that for us today. And of course, education. And if we have enough time, we will get to watch a poem by Kathy Chidungan. I know a lot of you know her. And her poems are always so much fun to watch, and they're very truthful, and it's something that we all have to be more conscious of when we think about climate change and act on how to take care of our environment. Okay, so
Hey,
here are
Rachel.
some hellos in Micronesia. Can you guys see my screen?
Hey, Rachel.
Yes.
Can I say one thing before we begin?
Yes, go for it.
Hey everyone, my name is Chaz. I'm a school counselor in the Highland School District. My background is Palauan and Japanese and American. I just want to preface that this presentation, the facts that we're about to present to you, A lot of it is that I've done our own research plus our experiences. So take the information as you will, do your own research too. There's a lot of resources out there that we can give to you as well. But this is just to kind of give you kind of a starting point if you don't already know what Micronesian culture is, because we do want everyone to be knowledgeable. Knowledge is power. And for us to be a Pacific Islander community in unity, this information is important. So thank you guys for coming, and we're happy to be sharing this knowledge with you.
Thank you, Chaz. Okay, so do we know Micronesian people? Does anybody know a Micronesian person? Just thumbs up, raise your hand, nod your head. Yes, okay. So these are not all of the hellos that we have in Micronesia, but I want you to take a moment to just unmute yourself and say one of these hellos and bring Micronesia into this space.
Yagoi.
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 Strong legs can start things like
Eli.
Afadai. Afadai.
Half a day.
Half a day.
Half a day.
Good.
That's really
Cool. Okay. How are we doing so far? Anybody bored yet? Okay, so like Chaz was saying, this is research that we did on our own. So if there's anything that you find that's not accurate, or if there's something that you feel like we didn't go deep into, you can always contact us or do that research yourself, or contact somebody you know that's Micronesian. I think that's one of the best ways to get this information. Okay. So who are the Micronesians? So Micronesia was coined by a French man who used the Greek words of tiny and island. Micronesia may seem small, but the ocean stretches out for miles and miles and miles. If you look at the US map and then add it to itself, then you have the ocean area of Micronesia. The land area is really tiny. This is something I learned recently. I know a lot of you know what Rhode Island looks like on the US map. Yes? So if you combine all of the land area in Micronesia together, it makes the land area of Rhode Island, but not really, because it's actually like a few hundred square mile smaller. Did I say that right? Anybody can correct me. Okay.
You're good.
All right. So Micronesia looks differently from the political eye than the cultural eye. So here's what it looks like politically. You have the Mariana Islands, the Caroline Islands, Federated States of Micronesia, Republic of Palau, Republic of Marshall Islands, Gilbert Islands, and then there are some other islands that people like to just skim over. And my heart is breaking when I say this, because I'm not even mentioning Yap, Chuuk, Guam, Rota, Saipan, Pohnpei, Cross-Rai, Nauru, and very important other island nations. So before we talk more about the political structures in our islands, let's do some talking about colonialism, which is our second favorite topic, to decolonization, which by the way is happening right now because we're talking about our stories and enforcing the truth and among each other. So pat yourself on the back for being here today. Okay, so Chaz, like he was saying, he's a school counselor, and I'm so glad that he's joining us today. He's going to be talking about our colonial history in Micronesia.
Cool. Ali, everyone. That's hello and Palawan. So Micronesia, our civilization, society stretches for tens of thousands of years. with our ancient traditions that we have, such as master navigators. Like thumbs up if you know who Mao Piailug is, from the island of Satawal, which is an outer island of Yap. And he was the one who held such rich understanding of navigation, and he retaught the Polynesians, the Hawaiians, how to traditionally navigate to this day with the hokulea that's traveled all around the world. So if you ever see Moana and you see Maui doing this, yeah, that's from Maui Island. So Micronesia represent. Oh, Rachel, can you go back to the other slide?
Oh, yes, I can.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's something that Micronesians very hold near and dear to their heart. There's Micronesia societies all over the islands. Right now, I think Mapialug's son is currently in Palau, teaching a group of students how to traditionally navigate. And a lot of the islands do this for the Pacific Arts Festival that happens every 4 years. Micronesia, also our islands are a lot of, we're mainly matrilineal societies, which means when it comes to like chiefs or appointing leadership, it's usually passed down through the women. So for example, like if I wanted to become chief, I am my mom's child. So for those that didn't know that, women are powerful and respected in our cultures. But going into the colonization period, that has changed over the last decade or 200 years because of these foreign rules. So we've had English contact, we had Spanish that introduced Catholicism and certain words into our languages. You had Germans who established an economy and rule over Micronesian people, and then given to the Japanese who introduced education. And then after the war, the United States came in and tried to make them territories, as well as test nuclear weapons on certain islands, particularly Marshall Islands and other parts of Micronesia. And then we'll talk about nuclear testing that later on with Rachel and others. And then also talk about the Compact Free Association, a treaty that's one of its kind, never been done anywhere else in the world. And it'll give kind of knowledge and enlightenment to how Micronesians came to Washington, Seattle, and all over the United States.
Thank you, Chaz. Okay, so now we're going to talk about COFA, which is Compactor Free Association. So what are COFA citizens? Are they or are they not citizens of the US? I don't know why US would say yes when a COFA citizen is rejected from a FAFSA application upon entering college, or how there's more documentation needed just to receive a stimulus check that is basically delivered to American doors or bank accounts. So let's define it. COFA citizens are allowed to live and work in the US as long as they want. Who are the COFA nations? We're talking about the Federated States of Micronesia, Republic of Palau, and Republic of the Marshall Islands. And these nations are independent under certain social and economic structures, conditions, I mean. The US has access to our lands for ridiculous military intentions, and because we signed the treaties back in the 80s, the US agreed to help us with our health, educational, and economic infrastructures. And this isn't really cool because we didn't need their support before they came to our islands and decided that our islands and our people should be used as testing grounds and testing objects. Now I'm going to pass the mic to Malaika, who is a student at the University of Washington, and she is currently studying anthropology. Hold on.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. Thank you, Rachel, for letting me join in and talk. I first really learned about the nuclear testing just last year. I mean, I've always known about it, but not the extent of it, and how 12 years doesn't really reflect how much the nuclear testing has affected the people from Marshall Islands. And so, but 12 years is when they were testing 67 of those nuclear bombs from 1946 to 1958. And from those testings came about mutations and radiation-induced diseases which cause cancer. And I've took some classes, and cancer it can't be traced. So learning about people who have cancer from the Marshall Islands, it's really easy to disregard that it's from the nuclear testing. But the fact is that nobody had cancer before the nuclear testing happened in the Marshall Islands. And there's no facilities for people in the Marshall Islands. And so it caused a lot of displacement and permanent displacement for the people of Bikini. Their home is lost and they can't return back to their land. And since this is like Micronesians in Seattle, a lot of us come to the US for health, education, just more job opportunities. But with the special conditions of our COFA treaty, we come here and it doesn't come into a full circle. It kind of stops where they don't really provide much for the people of the COFA treaty who are looking for more health opportunities. And so the places affected, Bikini, Enewetak, Uduruk, and Ronglep, they call it the 4 atolls, but it's all of Marshall Islands was affected. It wasn't just 4 atolls. It's really easy to place kind of the blame on 4 places when in fact it was actually just all of Marshall Islands, and even to connecting communities like Koshrai stuff. Okay, I'm ready for the next slide. Sorry if I'm nervous. So just kind of connecting to contemporary like pop culture. We have the beer cans, which came out like, I want to say last year. And they called it Bikini Atoll and Half-Life just to use for their beer production and making money out of it. So I know that the Marshallese like Ministry of Health was trying to get in contact with the company, and I don't think they really replied back about that. They kind of just went silent, but it caused like an uproar. And I've been studying a lot about SpongeBob, which I never realized, like I never made the connection of Bikini Bottom and Bikini Atoll, but it's a $12 billion like revenue that they get from making a show about a fantasy of what Bikini is. And it kind of just overshadows like what really happened to the people of Bikini who can't return to their home. And then, so the term like of the bikini like suit was actually also coined from Bikini Atoll, because it's like a nuclear atom that's like broken in half, which is like the bikini swimsuit. Thank you for the link. But yeah. And then I kind of just wanted to mention how like growing up, I never really got education about like the nuclear testing, and just barely in the Marshall Islands, there was a curriculum that came out with the help of Ariana T. Bunchi's part of the National Nuclear Commission, and she works as the education coordination and awareness. But I think it's really important for everyone just to know about the nuclear testing, because it still affects a lot of us now, and it's most of the reason why we're here in the States today. And we never make that connection. Thank you.
Thank you, Malika. I'm so glad that you were able to come in and talk about that and share your really deep relations with this terrible genocide, really, that happened in our islands. So that's kind of hard to just move on from, but in our presentation, we have more to talk about. Unless anybody else wants to talk about nuclear testing, I'd be happy to pass that mic to you. Holly, I see you.
Holly.
She's just observing. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I kind of skipped over a bit. So because of nuclear testing, the Marshallese people advocated for compensation, some sort of compensation that would help them get by after the damages that they've experienced in their own health and their own livelihoods, and even in our lands and our waters. So just like everything that money could never pay for. And that's what led us to the COFA agreement. We're going to go back. So our COFA agreement here, we talked a lot about it. So if it wasn't for the nuclear testing, we wouldn't be COFA citizens, and we wouldn't have this relationship with the US that we do now. And that's the map of COFA citizens. And under the Compact of Free Association, we were talking about how it's hard to define whether or not we are citizens in the US. And so we have Desiree here, who is willing to share some of her documentation experiences here. And she will speak on behalf of other people who have also struggled with this as Micronesians in America.
Hi, everyone. My name is Desiree. Thank you, Rachel, for having me. Just do a snippet of my experiences. Rachel said, COFA migrants are able to come to the United States as legal non-immigrants, and as long as they come here for school, work, basically indefinitely, as long as they are able to do those things here. And my experience, I first moved to the United States from Palau. I wasn't a U.S. citizen yet. My first, I guess, all of primary education, I didn't realize I was a COFA migrant. My family always told me, like, oh yeah, you're just, you're American now, like Palau American. But it wasn't until I started applying for colleges, and then I didn't realize, I didn't read the fine print where some scholarships, some scholarship details would say, like, yeah, even if you're part of these COFA nations, you're also able to apply for scholarships too, which is, RMI, Palau, and FSM, Federated States of Micronesia, and Republic of the Marshall Islands, for those who don't know the acronyms. And so since I didn't read those print, or the fine print, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to be a US citizen to get these scholarships for college. So my senior year, I started working on my own documentation process, and it to the point where I got rejected from being to apply for U.S. citizenship twice. And my process went like, they didn't understand what my status was as a legal non-immigrant. They didn't understand, like, oh, but you have an American, like name, like, my last name is Gross. Like, how you don't even have proof. Like, basically I just didn't have proof. Oh, sorry, the phone is ringing. And so they made me do another process where I had to get a green card first to become a resident alien, and then to be a U.S. citizen. And then by the time I became a U.S. citizen, obviously more opportunities came rolling through. But because that experience like really deterred me to do a lot of things in terms of like just getting, I guess, just to change my status, I started like helping family do theirs, and or even working on healthcare paperwork, just because a lot of employers don't understand the I-94 form. The I-94 form is something that a lot of employers overlook just because they think, oh, these are, illegal immigrants, or, oh, they're immigrants, they need to have more proof. But really, all you just need is, your passport, that filled out I-94 form, and, just other IDs just to get all this through. And so that really helped ignite me to kind of help family and understand that the systems here in America are not made for people from the COFA nations. It's still very hard to navigate till this day, especially now that we're under, quarantine, and, COVID-19 is, this pandemic. It's still very hard for a lot of people to navigate just healthcare things. And so status is just something that these COFA nations have been dealing with. Even if they move back to the islands, they come back again, they still have to always prove themselves. And what's great about at least Palau is Palau recognizes dual citizenship. I can't speak on behalf of the other islands, but Palau, if they make it so easy to just like, you can come here, freely with, US passports, how come the United States can't? But of course, it's so much more complex here. Yeah, thank you for letting me share my experience with you all, and yeah, passing it back to Rachel.
Thank you so much, Desiree, for sharing. That's information that I couldn't have shared. And a lot of us here who were born and raised in the US, that's something that we don't have to struggle with. So my heart is with you, and I wish I could give you my ID. But we'll talk more about the documentation issue later. We have Gigi here, who is an awesome community organizer, and she does a lot of work to help Marshallese and other COFA citizens have access to healthcare. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said and other Micronesians. She is here to help all Micronesians have access to healthcare. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back to how we experience some shifts in our livelihoods in the islands, and how this has put so much damage on us and our livelihoods. I have a slide here, and I have two pictures. In one picture, you see amazing fish and breadfruit. And then in the other picture, you see a cooler, and then inside of the cooler, there's a coconut drink that looks so yummy right now, and some water bottles. And deep inside of the ice, you'll find some really sugary pouches of juice and soda. So here are some facts that I threw in here just to give you an idea of how the health is faring. I actually don't want to read them because they're just so hard to look at. I don't know if you could see them on your screen. If you want, you can screenshot it, zoom in. But I will say that diabetes type 2 is huge among our people, and a lot of non-communicable diseases. So let's talk more about Micronesians in our area. So in Washington State, we have the second largest population of Kashrayans, the third largest population of Palauans and Marshallese. And most COFA citizens live in Auburn, Federal Way, Spokane, Everett, Vancouver. And of course, this is spreading out more. And so we're seeing Micronesians in Fife and in other towns. Does anybody want to name any? We know our knowledge better than the internet does. Okay. All right. And I wanted to touch on how there are so many Micronesians in the military. And Chaz actually had something to say about that. Chaz, do you want to go ahead?
I'm not versed in this, so if anyone has any knowledge, more knowledge about Micronesians in the military, they can speak on it. But from what I understand is because of the COFA status and how we're able to go to the U.S., the military presence is so huge that the U.S. relies on Micronesians to join the military by painting this fantasy that join the military, get citizenship, and you can live, in the United States and have access to these resources. It's for a lot of adults and want their children, they encourage the military. Whether you're from Federations of Micronesia, whether you're from the Marshall Islands, from Palau or Guam, it's all connected with the U.S. government and military. There's actually a documentary out called Island Soldier about Micronesians in the military and their story. If I can find a way to get a license of it and do a viewing of it, I'll let you guys know. But I would Google it, search it up, read the synopsis. I think it's very informative. If you're from like American Samoa and other Polynesian countries that also have a military presence, I think, it'll connect the two and, have this bigger understanding of our people and how, military, although provides opportunities, we're not just people that, are built for combat or for, labor or physical, or any of that. We're built for education, we're built for knowledge, we're built for other facets of society, that can really help all Pacific Islanders. Cool.
Thank you, Chaz. I love it when that point gets brought up, that we are more than people with abilities. We have capabilities in our heads too. We offer so much. So now we're going to talk about community organizations here in Washington. So we have Gigi here with us, who is a part of so many different affiliations. She is standing right now with Marshallese Women's Association, which has been recently formed due to the coronavirus and due to our unique needs in the COFA communities. Gigi, are you here? Do you want to talk more about who you are and your work?
Hi.
Hi, Gigi.
Yahweh, hey everybody. Thank you, Rachel, for giving me this opportunity. As far as the work, for the Marshallese people, we've been hit hard with all these medical and I-94 for the unemployment, and the Marshallese women, along with the COFA, they are really trying to focus on our COFA and Marshallese needs. And as a Marshallese Women Association, we really are touching base with our communities, with everything that's going on with the COFA. We're becoming more aware and more close to our community as far as this COVID-19 is going. We've been having issues as far as the I-94, as you know, with the COFA, but if you don't have your I-94, then you're not qualified for the unemployment, just because you don't have your I-94. But I am just excited because there is such a thing as a Marshallese organization along with the COFA. Just excited to do the work that we can help more and be ground rooted with our folks, with our families and communities. Thank you, Rachel, for giving me this time.
Thank you, Gigi. I don't know if we mentioned it, but Gigi was one of the, she was one of the foundational parts to getting our healthcare bill passed last year in 2019. So I'm just gonna give her a quick snap. It's always so good to hear from her and work with her and learn from her. She does so much and she's so selfless and so powerful, just like so many of our other organizational leaders. It's not easy doing this work. It's really tiring, it's really draining, it's takes time away from your families, and you know the rest. Okay, and so here are some names of some organizations that have been amazing in Washington State in recent years. So we have the Seattle Marshallese Association, Everett Marshallese Association, the COFA Alliance National Network of Washington, CANWA, and of course Marshallese Women's Association of Washington State, which is something that we're really excited about right now. Okay, so let's talk about data and underrepresentation and why we're actually here in this Zoom meeting today. As you may know, Micronesians often fall under categories that do not accurately represent how we're doing here in Washington State. And therefore, it was really hard for me to find data. I know it's out there, but it's not really something that's easily accessible. Here's some data that I grabbed from Hawaii. And now we're turning to education. I know it's a really big jump from everything that we've been talking about. Thank you. So here is something that was collected in Hawaii about how Micronesian students were doing at a certain time. As you can see, there's a line that represents the percent of Micronesians that is growing at a constant rate. And then as you can see with the line above, the red line, students become more and more absent as more and more Micronesians attend the school. So is this unique to Hawaii? I don't think so. I do some work at Everett Public Schools as a Marshallese liaison, and what that means is I call families and I text them over Facebook or whatever it is that I have to do to see what's going on with their child. Like, why aren't they showing up to school? Why are they late so often? So what I'm trying to say is that this graph is not unique to Hawaii. And we need to see more of these graphs in our community so that we can act on it. If we don't see them and if we don't know about it, then there's nothing that we're going to be able to do. Which is why we want to see more Micronesians in higher ed so that we can be able to do this work. I think the only people that would do it best is, us, Micronesians. So more on the student experience. I found this in another Hawaiian website. I thought this was a really awesome perception to how families versus administration and teachers view the student. So you can just take a look at it for a moment. I'll point to how principals view the student, or supposedly, of course this is very biased. So they may think that students and parents stay home and do not participate, whereas community leaders are thinking that students are being pushed out of the system. Does anybody have anything to say about that? This is where we can share what we agree on, disagree on. nobody wants to say anything.
I mean, I think the issues that happen in Hawaii are relative across the United States mainland. I know that in CTEC there's a big, huge population of Micronesians, that teachers and staff are beginning to recognize the differences and the similarities in Pasifika. And I think that, I think as Pacific Islanders in general, we struggle with chronic absenteeism and frequent, tardies. Part of it is cultural, part of it, is family situations, health concerns. Like there's a whole bunch of issues that affect Pacific Islanders that are not recognized by the general public. So I think this information is helpful, gives us a window, but like Rachel said, we need more information about our people, for our people. And we have so many different community leaders here that I think would be perfect for doing that. I'm not great at statistics. I'm not great at math, but if there's anyone that's really good at that has that mindset, I would encourage you to do that.
I hope somebody received their calling this afternoon. Okay, and
I like to,
you wanted to add on?
Can I add on to that?
Please.
As a Marshallese, I think a lot of our students that do graduate from high school, the mindset is to now work for your family. If your family is not making enough to live, then you have to work to help support them. So the school, I think, sometimes is not really seen because they need to help their families out. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So here are some headlines that I grabbed that are very encouraging for us to look at. In Spokane, there was some light shed on students who were not doing well and not graduating, like Gigi was saying. And so they decided to, do some research in Spokane. So that was really encouraging to look at. And of course it's outdated. It was in 2017. So we'll have to follow up on that. And then at Washington State University, there's a really cool Micronesian movement on gathering grants to make sure that students are well supported financially. And then in the front, you'll see a photo of our amazing Micronesian group at the University of Washington. Has anybody ever heard of Micro Night at UW? Does anybody want to say more about it?
Des, why don't you talk about it?
I mean, there's other people who are on this call too, who are part of MIC. Definitely feel free to share as well. Past presidents. Anyway, Micronesian Islands Club was basically, in my experience, a home away from home because I didn't grow up besides my family with other Pacific Islanders. I remember being invited to Pioneer and other outreach programs from Chaz, because Chaz is my cousin. And so it wasn't until UW, when I got to UW, where one, I refused to join the Micronesian Islands Club because obviously, I don't know, like I felt like I didn't need to, but I didn't realize I needed that community. And not only that, we prepared for or besides like the social aspect of the club, sometimes I learned a lot about other Micronesian cultures besides my own. And so it was really wonderful meeting people from all over Micronesia and outside of Micronesia, those who lived or who basically live in this like diaspora and just like understood like where I came from. And it was really cool to have mentors, my seniors, upperclassmen, to kind of help me navigate the college campus. It's definitely a club that I cherish with those who I gain relationships with. But other than that, Micronesia Night is an event that they host, just like other events that some of you guys probably heard, like Poly Day. It's one of the biggest events in Washington State to talk about Micronesian culture or showcase Micronesian culture. And yeah, that's all I'll say for now.
Thank you, Desiree. Yeah, so much unity going on when Micronesians get together, especially in higher education institutions. It's very exciting to see that we have an organization going. So here is a form that I pulled off from the Cookeville School District. And I wanted to know what you guys think about it. What is the significance of seeing a form like this? And this is how we're going to close off. We only have 10 minutes left. And so we're thinking about how this would help communities fare in education and health. How would seeing something like this on a form help us? And of course, what do you think is missing? Please, if anybody wants to share, go for it. Otherwise, I'm going to start cold calling.
I guess my question, hi, this is Lydia Baitilia. I guess my question would be, are we collecting, hello everybody. Hey, no, I'm joking. I need some excitement in my life, but I guess my question would be, is this going to be used to collect data for like a bigger project, or I guess, like what is the context for collecting this information?
That's a good question. That is up to us. If it could be about collecting data for testing scores, it could be collecting data for a particular health trait or disease. The floor is open. What do you guys think?
There's a large Navy community in that area, and so I'd like to think that they're recognizing that there are a variety of, people in the area and wanting to know more about who is there and who's in school and how to, tie that culture into maybe how they're teaching or what they're offering. That's what I would like to think, but I honestly have no idea.
Hi, everyone. This is Bree. I think that having forums like this is so important because I think back on a few years ago when we were first starting out with like advocacy around COFA healthcare. And at the time I was working for the Commission on Asian Pacific American Affairs. And as we were doing a lot of our advocacy and working with other state agencies like the Healthcare Authority to educate them about the need for COFA healthcare, it was a little bit difficult because we just didn't have the data. And a lot of times when it comes to distributing resources and figuring out how the state will create new programs, they are very data driven. And without this data, it's really hard to advocate for the needs of our community because according to them, there's no demonstrated need for it, even though we know in our communities that there is a need, and that anecdotally our communities are facing so many challenges with health and education and other systems. So yeah, I think it's really important. And I think that while this particular version does disaggregate a little bit, obviously there's a lot of overlap between like having like regional options like with Melanesian and Micronesian, because those aren't ethnicities. And then also like with having Guamanian or Chamorro, and then having like Mariana Islander separate, like I think there's a lot of things that we can do to improve forms like this that better reflect our communities.
How about a reach out program?
Yeah, reach out programs are important. And, the more data that we have, of who is in Washington, I think the better, for us to outreach for community building. It'd be nice to have like a summer program for PIs, and teach them about culture and paddling and all that. Like that's kind of been a dream of mine. And I feel like if you have data, because the state and the government loves numerical numbers, I think it is important to have those forums, but also to expand, the different ethnicities. I feel like just drawing away from, the regional terms like Polynesian, Micronesian, Melanesia, and start recognizing, who's at the table, in respect to who they are from their culture. Because we're so complex. We go from our ethnicity, but then we're also from different villages. We're also from different families, that are never um, shared until, we share about ourselves at the table. So I think at least to have that forum, we should have more of the ethnicities labeled so that people feel like, oh, I feel cared for. Palauana's on there, Costa Rica's on there, cool.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I really think reach out programs is okay because mostly Micronesians that I've seen, they're afraid to come out and do stuff because once they come out, they'd be like, oh, hey, I can't speak English. So I think a reach out program would be awesome.
Okay, Nene, so we're signing you up for the outreach program.
I'm okay with it. It's just I need time. I'm off Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I'll be okay to do it on those days. Because mostly it'd be elderlies that are afraid to come out to do for their, like the COFA thing. Nobody knows about it. Like, you have to spread the word.
Yeah.
Statistics and number, you have to reach out to people. Mostly islanders I know, they're afraid to come out to, do these programs because they're mostly shy. It's just from my experience and observation of the Micronesian community. That's one.
Yeah, that's true. And that's also why it's so hard for us to gather numbers during this COVID crisis, right? Because our families are too shy, and it's really hard to move around. Does anybody want to say more about that before we move on?
One thing Micronesians are known for is cookouts and free food. So I say if we make like a summer blast or some type of activity, they will come join. That way you could do your reach out programs there too. It's much more easier to get to know people.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Yeah, of course.
With all those Native Hawaiian, Fijian, Guamanian, I think there should be a COFA in there, and then other Pacific Islanders or something, because as we are trying to gather data, a lot of, from people like, I'm just gonna say the Marshall Islands or something, they do not say Micronesian or something, but if they can say COFA, then we all know who COFA is, besides all the other Pacific Islanders, because we've been doing that a lot all these years. Other Pacific Islands, they don't say, some they don't even mark it, or they don't even say Marshallese or something like that. So I think something in there should have COFA listed also, because it's a different, different treaty of, how they are in the U.S.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see some forms with COFA on them. Am I wrong? I feel like I have seen one. Maybe I'm wrong.
Some education or some school districts might be doing it. A couple of years ago, there was this like student data disaggregation task force that came out of the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, which guided districts to start having better like data forms. And that task force, I was on it. We provided them with different options that had like a really expanded list of like race and ethnicity options. So some of them might have adopted it, but it wasn't mandatory. So some districts have the option to opt out.
Thank you, Brianna. It's always nice hearing from you. This is also another big jump. We only have 2 minutes left. We can't talk about Micronesia without talking about climate change. So I'm gonna let Kathy Tidingan speak on it for all of us today. She's this amazing poet. You have to look her up. This is one of my personal favorites. So here we go. I'm just gonna play it. I know that Zoom doesn't do so well with the video, but we'll do it anyway. And there's the title, so you can look it up on your own time. Can you guys hear it? Can you hear it?
Dear Mata Filipino, you are a 7-month-old sunrise of gummy smiles. You are bald as an egg and bald as the Buddha. Your thighs that are thunder, shrieks that are lightning, so excited for bananas, hugs, and our morning walks along the lagoon. Dear Mata Filipino, I want to tell you about that lagoon. That lucid, sleepy lagoon lounging against the sunrise. Men say that one day, that lagoon will devour you. They say it will gnaw at the shoreline, chew at the roots of your breadfruit trees, gulp down rows of your seawalls, and crunch through your island's shattered bones. They say you, your daughter, and your granddaughter too, will wander rootless, with only a passport to call home. Dear Mata Filipino, don't cry. Mommy promises you, no one will come and devour you. No greedy whale of a company sharking through political seas, no backwater bullying of businesses with broken morals, no blindfolded bureaucracies gonna push this mother ocean over the edge. No one's drowning, baby. No one's moving. No one's losing their homeland. No one's gonna become a climate change refugee. Or should I say, no one else. To the Carteret Islanders of Papua New Guinea, and to the Taro Islanders of Fiji, I take this moment to apologize to you. We are drawing the line here. Because baby, we are going to fight. Your mommy, daddy, boo-boo, dimma, your country, and your president too, we will all fight. And even though there are those hidden behind platinum titles who like to pretend that we don't exist, that the Marshall Islands, Tuvalu, Kiribati, Maldives, and Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, and floods of Pakistan, Algeria, and Colombia, and hurricanes, tidal waves, and earthquakes didn't exist, still, there are those who see us. Hands reaching out, fists raising up, banners unfurling, megaphones booming, and we are canoes blocking coal ships. We are the radiance of solar villages. We are the rich, clean soil of the farmer's past. We are petitions blooming from teenage fingertips. We are families biking, recycling, using, engineers dreaming, designing, building, artists painting, dancing, writing. We are spreading the word. And there are thousands out on the street, marching with signs, hand in hand, chanting for change now. They're marching for you, baby. They're marching for us. Because we deserve to do more than just survive. We deserve to thrive. Dear Mata Filipino, you are eyes heavy with drowsy weight. So just close those eyes, baby, and sleep in peace. Because we won't let you down. You'll see.
Oh my gosh, so powerful. All the different shots in the different places of the world. So that's our time for today. If anybody has any thoughts that they want to share before we leave, now's your time. I'll be here for as long as you guys are here. So go ahead, the floor is yours.
All right.
Sorry.
Thank you everybody for being here. A tradition that we're trying to start is that with every presentation, we're going to take a photo of everyone. So if you don't have your picture showing, please show your face or change your background so that there's an image there. But we want to get a shot of everyone. Edwina is going to take it for us.
I don't know how to get my picture in there. My kid touched my phone. Sorry.
It's okay.
All right.
Right to my picture though.
Is everyone ready? Oh, even if you're not, if you want to show your Zoom profile, that works too. Y'all look good. Okay, we're gonna take this in 2 segments because y'all know we have a beautiful community and there's like 40 plus people here. So just stay smiling. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, wait. 1, 2, 3. Hold on, second round. All right, keep smiling. 1, 2, 3. Okay, Kiana, I see you. All right, thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. And don't forget to go to the link of the Highline workshops that are still continuing on to celebrate Pacific Islander Heritage Month. They're all really amazing and so awesome. They're only an hour to an hour and a half long. Check them out. And I think they're happening daily. So don't miss out.
And shout out to you all for showing up, showing out.
Yeah.
I hope you guys learned a little bit more something than what you came in. We're going to continue this conversation. Kyunga and myself are leading a discussion, a panel discussion on Micronesian stories next Friday. So please be on the lookout for that. It's kind of an expansion of this workshop about the Micronesian experience. We're hoping that these workshops are continuing to unite us in knowledge, so that we can help each other even more and make our community strong. So love to you all. Thank you guys so much.
Don't forget to fill out the eval. If you submitted one, you may be eligible to get a gift card. We're gonna do a drawing at the end of this month. So yeah, fill out the eval. It's in the chat, bit.ly/PI workshop eval. And then Nestor, I don't know, do you want to talk about your program that's happening tomorrow? I see you, bro.
Yeah. So tomorrow we're doing the history of the colonial history of the Pacific Islander diet tomorrow at 11 p.m. And so me and my co-hosts, Donna and Deborah Tungonga, or Donna and Gareth Simpson, will be doing, like a brief history of, some of our favorite Pacific Islander foods that we love to eat and some of the unintended consequences that it has with our health. I know we touched a little bit about this during this presentation, which is a very good, preview for what's to come tomorrow. So if you're all interested, please stop on by, bring your favorite food with you because, we'll be eating in front of you. And so we feel bad we can't share with you, but please feel welcome to bring your own food that you can eat while you're watching us and listening to us. So yeah, we look forward to all of you. And like I said earlier, there's plenty of other workshops that are going to be offered throughout this month. So I'm very excited for that. And I'm so excited to see so many beautiful people here. So good to see everyone.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, please go to Nestor's workshop tomorrow. That's making me hungry just listening about it. Any other announcements about what's coming up? Any other workshop hosts here in the room?
On Friday, after following Nestor's, will be Professor Bonus. He's not in here, but Professor Bonus from the University of Washington in the American Ethnic Studies program will be sharing about looking for the ocean in the school. So just a book written on how Pacific Islanders have used the community to navigate our very complicated education system. So if you also want to join in afterward, those are the types of things that we have in store for y'all this week. That's all.
Thank you. Okay. I think those are all the announcements, unless somebody else has other announcements they want to share. No?
Can I just
Okay.
do something really quick?
Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Kiana. I don't go to Highline. I'm not even from Washington, but my sis Kukui was like, oh, join this workshop because they're gonna touch on Micronesians and stuff like that. So I was like, let me hop in real quick. But I love that you guys are holding this space and just doing this and all these workshops. It's super inspiring to see a bunch of Pacific Islanders just like sharing knowledge, you know, sharing stories and stuff like that. So I just want to send love and like appreciation to all of you guys.
Thank you. It's so good to have you here. Where did you say you're from?
I'm from California, actually. I go to Sacramento State. So
cool. What are you studying?
Communications and sociology.
Nice.
So nice meeting all you guys. And shout out to the other Kiana. I see your message. I like your name too.
Okay. All right, well, I guess that's it. Unless anybody has anything else to say.
Just thank you, Rachel, Chaz, is it Malika, Desiree, Gigi, everyone who shared today. Thank you all so much for an amazing workshop. I learned a lot today for sure. So thank you so much for holding this space for our community.
Yeah, thank you for all the community members for participating and sharing. It's very powerful to see you all in these workshops, and we should encourage more community members to join too, because that's very, very empowering. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.